Problem. Okay, so as you all know, my name's Elissa Clemons. I am the Assistant Dean in the Career Education Center. And what we want to share with you is information on the data collection method that our office is currently using for collecting first destination surveys. So I want to first start by giving you a little bit of background information. The trends that are driving this type of discussion, as we're all aware, is the escalating cost of higher education, perceived returns on investment of time, effort, and resources, institutional outcome assessment, and accreditation standards. And one of the things that we each know is that with those standards that are in place that are being driven by, the White House College Scorecard, the Rubio, Wyden, Warner Student Right to Know Before You Go Act, and the Department of Education Title IX Federal Student Aid process, is that we cannot, looking at where students go after graduation is like comparing apples to oranges. Okay, first destination for a student who may be in a political science major may be different from a first destination of a student who is a business major and or a nursing major and or an engineering major. So we really can't look at all of that the same way. And what was happening in the industry, and I'm sure a lot of you saw this, you would see schools saying, we have a 98% placement rate. We have, a 96% placement rate. Well, placement is really an old term that, if you have that conversation with any of us, we really try to stay away from that term. Placement implies that anyone in the career services area can take a person and give them a job. There are other things that go into that play into that. So there were every school had a different way of calculating their rate. Okay, one of the things that we always did at University of Detroit Mercy is we would always say the rate is based off of the number of students who responded. Some schools would just look at, 98% of the 200 who responded are employed, so therefore we've got a 98% placement rate. And that is not an accurate way of looking at it. So in 2012, the National Association of Colleges and Employers began kind of looking at this because that's really kind of the governing body of a career services profession. And they have interactions where they meet with people in federal government, in the White House, at state levels, to kind of talk about, what are some of the standards. And so they took on the responsibility, to the profession and to the public to provide thought leadership on the relevant issues and trends affecting the college-educated workforce, national standards and developing national standards and protocols to guide higher education institutions in collecting and disseminating vital information regarding the immediate career outcomes of their graduates. So they gave us some standards to begin following. And at, Cheryl McGriff and I, Cheryl Johnson, the Dean of the Career Education Center, we looked at that and we said, we want to do this. We're going to do this for University of Detroit Mercy because we think that this is important. The Career Education Center has always been charged with, with collecting, data from students who graduate. And that's always been a year-long process. Okay, it's a method of online survey, it's paper survey, it's sending letters, postcards, making phone calls, to students, to graduate, to those who graduated, and trying to collect as much data as possible. And one of the things that we know is that self-reported data from the student is the best method of collecting that data. With the the NACE guiding principles, they've given us some other standards to include. And so we'll go over that. We're going to look at what we did as far as data collection methods for 2013-14, and then how we're going to go forward in 2014-15, and how as an institution we can all work together so that we make certain that we're on the same page and that we're collecting good data that can be used throughout the university. So again, we know that helping students achieve is critical, to the mission of any institution. Okay, and that, we want to obtain information from all graduates, and that career services plays an integral role. And that, we report post-graduation career-related outcomes versus placement, and that the survey fills institutional human subject requirement, multiple data collection sources, ongoing data collection finalized 6 to 9 months after graduation, and then that aggregate data is maintained confidentially of the individuals, and that the overall outcomes for the institution and by academic program unit are shared with the entire university. So we do have that this year, and we're really excited because we have that for 2013-14. And again, like I said, in the past, with the process that we used, that was typically a year-long process. We typically would not have that information until probably September or October. And we know that, there are a number of accrediting, a number of departments that need this information for accreditation purposes. So being able to implement a tool that can help us to facilitate that process is very important. So, we're just going to look at briefly some of the standards and protocols. I'm going to share our data collection methods with you, and also, the report, as it exists as of last week of the data that's been collected by the university. Okay. So they've made some changes. Who's the graduating class? Again, different schools had different, standards for that. What NACE has said is graduating class follows the IPADS date. So July 1 through June 30th of each year. So the data that I'm going to share with you, because we had collected, the July 1 data in our former survey method, we did not include it in this method. So what I'm going to share with you today is data from our 2014-10 and 2014-20 class. So I'm going to pass that around to you. You'll get a chance to see kind of a basic summary, and that we include all students completing either, and again, associate or baccalaureate degree. And we know obviously at University of Detroit Mercy we do not have associate degrees. So this is just baccalaureate information because that's really what first destination is about. It's about where are our students going after that first degree. We do survey our graduate students, but that is not going to be included in what's being presented today. And that is sortable by degree program, degree level, work authorization, and so in the aggregate format, you'll actually see that information is there. And now we're looking at what are called targeted knowledge rates. So again, self-reported data from the student is best. However, we know that all students, for whatever reason, do not fill out the survey. Okay, and again, what we want to do is to build a culture whereby we're all encouraging students. At graduation, you're going to receive this survey. Please make certain that you fill it out. This information is extremely important, for our institution as a whole. And the percentage of graduates for which the university has reasonable and verifiable information concerning the graduates' post-graduation and career activities, and preferably, again, like I said, that it's straight from the graduate. However, there may be times when maybe there's a student who worked in your office and you know that they asked you for a letter of recommendation, either for an employer and or going to, continuing education, and you know that they've been accepted or they've been hired by an employer. Various stakeholders around the campus are going to be asked at certain points, is there information that you can share with us? Okay, and at a minimum, what we're going to need is kind of, the student name, their T number, because we have all of this information in a database. It's searchable, and we can also make changes. What you'll see too, starting this year is we'll have copies of a paper survey at Grad Salute tomorrow. We'll also have copies of a paper survey for those students who know, that they are already employed or they've already been accepted at graduation for them to complete. And some of the colleges have agreed to, have those forms in their office and then return it to our office the following Monday after graduation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you're saying if someone that we had that graduated 2 years ago pops into my office and says, guess what? I just got employed XYZ. What should we do with that?
Well, right now, we're not going back 2 years. It's for the current year, right?
This happens 7 months from now.
Yes, okay, someone who graduated in the 2014-15 class, okay? We can still collect data on the 2013-14 class, but the other surveys have been closed out just because of the fact that, this would just be ongoing and we'd never stop. So that's why we want to build a culture where we're getting 100% of data, or at a minimum, NACE's targeted response rate at a minimum is 65%. Okay, we want to see a higher response rate than that from University of Detroit Mercy, and we believe that given our size, given the institution that we are, that we can achieve that. Now this year, again, like I said, we received a the categories that, that are needed too. Employed full-time, employed part-time, and volunteer service is really those year of service areas. I already know of 3 students who've been accepted through Jesuit Volunteer Corps. Okay, because that's been verified by the recruiter. So we'll also take verified information by the, that's been verified by the employer. If there's someone who's going into Mercy Volunteers, someone who's going to AmeriCorps, someone who's going into the Peace Corps, that's important to know. That's a first destination after graduation. Okay, so those are the types of things that we need to know and that we need to start collecting. If they're seeking employment, the reason why it's very important for us to know if they're seeking employment in the summer is so that our office can reach out to them and continue to assist them with that, with finding that first career. We receive job postings all year long. Our office is open 12 months a year. We're here in the summer, okay? We want to help graduates, and who are looking for employment, to seek that employment. So while you can start early on, it's not too late after graduation, to come back and to work with our office so that we can help you find employment. And then the other thing that's extremely important for us to know, if there's no information available at all. You'll see on the, report that I sent out, there's a very large number that we have absolutely no information on at all. Okay, and so, we want to make certain that we're closing that gap and that it's, that it's smaller. And then that career outcomes rate, you'll see that there's a career outcomes rate, and I didn't keep one of those, I believe it's 86.5%. That is calculated by the number of full-time, part-time, the number of people participating in year of service or volunteer service, number of people in the military, or those who have indicated that they are enrolled in a program of continuing education. And so that's how that number is actually calculated and how we find that number. So again, like I said, you will see that our career outcomes rate for this year is 86.5. Again, that's based off of those who responded. Okay, so what we want to see going forward is that if we've got 100% of people responding, that we've got 100% career outcome rate, or moving that number as much as we possibly can. The timeline for summary data collection and reporting. Target date for gathering summary career outcomes data is December 31st of each year. NACE has now moved that year. We'll still continue for a year out, but we do not have to report data to NACE until March 1st. So at March 1st of each year, the data that we collect goes into the NACE clearinghouse to be part of a full, be part of data for all schools that participate in there, so that now we're getting, we have standards and protocols that we're using and that other schools are following, so that our data, University of Detroit Mercy data, is also in there. And again, Common Deadline provides a consistent metric. Okay, we've been at conferences, we talk to people, and some people will say, oh, they would only hold their survey open for 3 months. Okay, others, would hold it open for a year. Still others would continue collecting, until they had reached that 99%. So it was kind of a rolling date. So this is just to give some, some standards for what's going into the NACE clearinghouse. We do have the ability to continue collecting a year out. Okay, so we will be, sending out communications to 2013-14 graduates up until May of this year, asking them again to report, so that then that'll allow this report to be updated and to be made current. Okay. So last year, we went, Cheryl McGriff and I talked with a group of people from ALT and the provost, and we asked for assistance in using what's called the CSO outcomes reporting system. So the outcomes survey is a new resource that we've implemented. It's based on NACE policy statement, campus-specific employment and graduate school admission outcome reports. It's accessible to students, parents, and others invested in outcomes. And we also have individual campus data aggregated into larger national data set to create national employment and graduate school admission outcomes report. So all of this information, the process that we use is, and like I said, it's a pretty intensified process that we use. What's going to happen is with the 2014-15 graduate year, beginning April 1, students will begin to receive an email. Last year, that email came from the provost, came with the provost signature. Dr. Garibaldi has indicated that he would be willing to sign that letter. And so, we're hoping, that, again, letting students know that they're going to begin to receive this survey. They receive an individualized email based off of their major where they're asked to complete certain outcomes information. The online survey actually consists of 100 questions. However, students do not have to complete all 100 questions. If at graduation time they say, I have nothing to report, then they'll receive another survey in 3 months. Okay, receive another email and a postcard from our office in 3 months asking them to go in and to complete that survey again. Because one of the things that we know is it can take anywhere from 60 to 90 days, if you're conducting an effective search for your first employment opportunity after graduation. So we know that data that's going to be collected, right at graduation is not going to be representative of all of our graduates in 2014-15. So they'll have an opportunity to come back and to enter that information again. At the 6-month process, at the 6-month point, they receive another email. They'll receive postcards from our office. In the meantime, too, between that 3 and that 6 months, and as long as we have students, and I think that's also going to be dependent on whether or not there's funding available for students to work and work study, we will have our students begin making phone calls. Okay, making phone calls, encouraging people to sign in and to, complete that survey. If someone says, hey, I don't want to sign in, I don't want to complete the survey, at a minimum, we're hoping that they will at least complete the survey, the one-pager. Okay, just tell us something. Okay. If it's just 2 or 3 sentences about, 2 or 3 things about you, just tell us that information, because that's extremely important for us to know. And as we collect that information at 3-month points, 6-month intervals, 9-month interval, and 12-month intervals, we can begin sharing that information out with other people at the institution. Okay, so if there's something that we need to share with financial aid, if there's something that you need for, Kate, for your, right, we can, share that with you. But we can only share that data if we all work together to get the students to take part in this. Okay, and that's what we want to talk about and just kind of share some of what we know this year. So just an overview of the baccalaureate degrees, we surveyed 538 graduates. And that was information that we verified that degrees were awarded and confirmed from Banner. Okay, so even though at the beginning, next month, or at the end of this month, I'm going to be sending data to them for people who've applied for graduation, we then go back into Banner in May, only select the award where students have been, where their degrees have been conferred, and then we upload those who have not been conferred, and they'll take them out of the system. Go ahead.
Is that undergraduate, graduate, and professional?
It's not the professional, it's undergraduate and graduate. Law school has their own process because of ABA requirements, and a lot of what we're doing now is similar to what they do what they're doing for ABA requirements. So Markeisha Mina at the law school, her data for ABA requirements, I think, is also due in March. Okay, so she's doing a similar type process, and they've just automated their process also. So it's going to make her life a lot easier. But professional schools is collected by by the school. Dental, we do have dental hygiene. We do not have the dental program. Okay, and I'm sure that they have obviously some data collection methods that they have to use also that have to be completed by a certain amount of time. And I can't remember if it's Kathy Shepard, right, who handles that. So we'll send her information that we've collected, so that they can put it into their larger process. Okay. So, like I said, the data, we received information from the status known from 179 graduates. That's a really small number. Okay, and again, we're just talking about the baccalaureate degrees. So, the status known is the number of graduates for which we have career outcome data, which gives us a knowledge rate of 33.27, which is really low from where we want to be just for the NACE standards. The NACE standards are 65%. So we're hoping that with 2014-15, if we can at least get to 65%, we're at least meeting that standard, and then working towards next year, that we're meeting or exceeding that standard this year, and then next year that we are exceeding that standard. And then, we have an overall career outcomes of 86.59, and that's, of course, based off of full-time, part-time employment, the information that was shown on a couple of screens ago. And the total of all employed, full-time, part-time, service, and military. So the status known for full-time is a total of that is 109. And so the status known, when you calculate the response rate for that, is 60.34%. Full-time, there were 87 people who reported. Part-time, 19. 2 people indicated that they were in year of service. No one indicated that they were full-time military. 47 indicated that they're continuing education. Now, obviously, that adds up to more than 109, okay? Now, with students who are continuing education, they could say, I am working full-time, I am continuing education, and then when we ask them, what's your primary status? Primary status may be that they're working full-time. Okay, so that's why that number for continuing education, is a little bit higher, and it's always going to be, because we will have those people who are full-time, continuing education, or we have those students who are full-time employed and part-time continuing their education. So we always know that that number is going to look a little off for us. Okay. And again, when we look at salary, 87 of the 87 full-time who reported they were working full-time reported, 40 of them reported that they reported salary data, and that's 45.98%. And the mean salary for 2013-14 undergraduate baccalaureate degrees was $41,480. Okay, now, obviously, if we can get more students to report that information, we're going to see a different number. We also know that there are some outliers. If you look on your report, you're going to see where we've got someone who says that they're working in biochemistry and that they're making $90,000 a year. What we know in career services is the likelihood of someone with an undergrad degree in biochemistry coming out of college making $90,000 a year is probably not going to happen. So we know that even with that self-reported data, okay, there are, there are some problems with that. Or the other thing could be, especially when we're looking in areas like business, nursing, or engineering, areas where maybe someone is a non-traditional student and they've come back to school to receive a degree. Maybe they've been working for 10 years and maybe they're already at $60,000, $70,000 a year. They're going to report that they're making $60,000, $70,000 a year. Now, that does not mean that someone straight out of college with a bachelor's degree is going to make that same salary. Okay, what we know is for engineers across the board in the state and throughout the country, engineers typically straight out of college with a bachelor's degree will typically command a salary of about $55,000 or $60,000. And again, it's going to depend on the industry. It depends on the part of the country that they're in. Okay, the other thing is that when we look at just where students are going in general, whether most of our students stay within the state of Michigan area, so we know that most of our students are employed in the automotive industry. We know that most of our students are employed by Ford, GM, Chrysler, and because we have a very large pool of nursing students, we know that a lot of our students are employed Beaumont, Henry Ford, Detroit Medical Center, all of the major hospitals. So that's information that we do know and that we do have, and that's in the fuller report that we would actually have all of that information to share. And then the students who reported that they're continuing education, architecture, biochemistry, biology, business administration, chemistry, dental hygiene. I don't think that there are any of those majors would not, are the ones that typically we would see going on to continuing education. So that's good to know. But again, that's another number. Remember, what did I say? I think only 47 people. We know that more people than that are going on to school, are continuing their education. Now, what's going to help us, again, this year with that is we know that those students where a bachelor's degree has been conferred and maybe they're in a 5-year program at University of Detroit Mercy, we're going to know that information. Okay, so we're going to already have that information, which is also going to help us to boost that up. One of the things I didn't realize until last year when I was doing this, I did not realize how many 5-year programs there are. Okay. And if we have that information, just, immediately, if that group of students, the students who are going into 5-year programs are encouraged to just sign in and complete that piece of the survey. That's going to be very helpful in allowing us to know where our students are. We're also going to work with with Diane Prate in the registrar's office, and I think we've come up with a date of November to have clearinghouse data on students who are accepted into graduate programs. So that's going to be another area that's going to be extremely beneficial, and it's going to help us to boost the numbers. But also, if those students, even if they're in a 5-year program here, and if they're working full-time and it's based off of the degree that they've earned, we want to know that too. Okay, we want to know, that they're employed, because now when we put that information out there, when students are making decisions to come to University of Detroit Mercy, they can see where graduates are going. It helps them to make a decision. In addition to, I know that financial aid has been working very hard to make, the cost of attending UD Mercy, very reasonable for students. But for them to be able to see where where that UD Mercy education pays off in either attending graduate school or in either entering the workforce. So, again, we want to make certain that we're collecting as much data as we possibly can. And I think, because I talk so fast, that is about all that I have. I don't know if you have any questions, any discussions, and maybe any ideas for other ways that maybe we can work with people around the university to help collect data. Again, maybe starting kind of a somebody knows something campaign, during the summer, and getting information, from people. And then, like I said, being able to verify that. And I apologize. One of the things that I should have done and I did not, I should have brought the link over so that you can see the actual survey. I could do that if you wanted to see that. I think we're connected to the internet. No.
No, I don't. I would try just
On the laptop, yeah, okay.
Or I can bring Nathan in.
Yep. Any questions? I actually multitask.
Your results will be available for people to see. Are they currently available?
They're not up on the website yet, and hopefully they will be up on the website before the end of the day. If they're not up by the end of the day, they will be up by tomorrow.
On your website?
Yes, on our website. Now, that may be the other thing, too. Because of the other data that we have, maybe we need to work with IT and have maybe a shared, kind of drive where that data is put at 3 months, 6 month, 9 month, and 12-month intervals, so that then it's accessible, to a variety of people. So write that down. That's an idea.
Some of the grant programs for disadvantaged students want this information by Pell versus non-Pell. That's not something that.
No. We do not have Pell versus non-Pell. What we could do,
You could run it against the Pell recipient, take her file and run it against the Pell recipients.
right. Now, we do have demographic data by gender and by ethnicity. Okay, and then that can be broken down by major, so that's, again, the fuller spreadsheet, and like I said, we sent that out to a couple of people and they got really scared. Okay, that full spreadsheet probably runs from A to CZ. Of everything that's collected. So we can collect data on satisfaction of services. How satisfied were students with, did they feel that the service that they received from the Career Education Center was helpful or unhelpful? Did they feel that the information that they received from their academic advisor was helpful or unhelpful? One of the things that, and I was sharing this with Cheryl, one of the things that I realized is, one of the things that I realized with that is that it was important to see who felt that the services were helpful and unhelpful, but what was more important was to see how many students said, I've never used that service. And overwhelmingly, people said, I've never talked with my academic advisor. I've never talked with the Career Center. I've never talked with. So if you've never worked with any of us, how can we help you? We can't, it's not possible to help you if we don't know what assistance you need.
You said you have those results that you're going to post online?
That one is actually in a 54-page document. So I can send you.
That would be great.
Yeah, I can send you that. I apologize.
I assume that because you
are asking a large amount of information that will be selective about what's available to the public?
Yes, the only thing, what's going to be available to the public is what you, that's what's available to the public. Right, That's what's available to the public. That's why I said the other data, we can share that, we can share that out. But again, remembering that this particular year for the 2013-14 only covers, the 2014-10 and 2014-20 years, okay? So the 2014-15 year is going to cover anyone who graduated 2014-30. 2015-30 is going to cover 2016-10. And no, I'm ahead of myself. 2015, right, okay, so that's gonna cover through 2015-10, 2015-20, okay? So that's gonna be 2014, so that's anybody who graduated between July 1, 2014 and June 30th, 2014, And then, if we have information, because we know that we have those summer graduates who attend and maybe they don't walk, and, they may walk, but they don't graduate until August. We can pull that. Okay, we pull all of that out, and we'll hold on to that information until the following year, so that we have it. Okay. You know what? I apologize. I may not have it. If anybody is truly interested in seeing the full survey, I can set up time and walk you through what it looks like from the student perspective. I thought I had a link in my email account. So if anybody's really wants to see that, I can schedule time, I can walk you through. But again, it uses skip logic. So if a student says their primary status is employed, then they'll get the questions related to employment. If a student said, they're asked a question, did you participate in co-op or internship? Then they'll get the questions related to co-op or internship. Everybody is asked the questions on the satisfaction of services, that type of thing. And we also have the ability to add customizable questions. That, if there's something further down the line that as an institution we think is important to have out there, we could also ask, have that information available and ask them other questions. Okay? It's okay. Okay.
All right, so can we just pull this survey and just pull one of these and talk to me kind of like I'm in fifth grade?
Yeah.
Explain this to me. Let's go down to the developmental psychology one.
Let me borrow this from you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Or one maybe when there's a realistic salary, that's why so are you telling me that out of all the people that got their bachelor's, only one person, are you at that spot?
You're looking at developmental psychology?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So one person is out of all that, we only have one person that was in that program, only one person applied.
That is the one person that was listed in the data that we pulled down for the 2014, 2010, and 2020.
Okay.
Okay, 2014-10 and 2014-20.
Okay.
Okay, so that does not include, let's say, someone who maybe, may have applied for graduation. This is whose degrees were awarded. In that time frame.
Okay, so one person was awarded. The knowledge rate, and they also replied back to you, is that
Yes.
my understanding? Because that's why we're at 100%.
Correct, that's why we're at 100%.
And they are going in the military or doing some kind of a service, right? Either a service or something.
It looks like they've got a full-time job.
Full-time job, that's where that 100%.
Right.
And we can buy the fact that they could be making $63,000.
But they have two.
It's two there. Now, those two lines, let me tell you,
Yeah,
those two columns are copied and pasted. The spreadsheet has 6 worksheets in the book. The salary is not part of this one. We added these two columns. It could be possible that maybe we copied it into the wrong place. So I'll go back and take a look at that and see if that should be there or if it's supposed to be in another area before I put it up on the page. This report technically ends at the career outcomes, but we also wanted to show kind of, what we had collected about salary. That's on a separate spreadsheet. So let's say, that's in a separate workbook. Okay, worksheet on that in that workbook. So I would definitely have to look back at that. And thank you for for bringing.
So then right around here, there's that one from criminal justice, there were 7 graduates,
Mhm.
but none of them
Correct.
replied back.
None of them responded back.
Got it.
Okay, none of them responded back, and we made phone calls. We didn't get any response back. We also reached out to the colleges in October and asked them to go through their list of, here's the list of graduates. Can you tell us, what you know about them? Okay, now one of the things, again, that criminal justice program, that's the one, I didn't know we had a 5-year program in that. Right, okay, so some of those, because again, when I first I didn't realize that we hadn't, so I don't know if some of those were then put into that 5-year program, or if their degree was awarded in criminal justice. So this year, that's the type of thing that we've got to look a little bit more deeply at. Okay, the ones who are in the going into the 5-year programs. That's okay.
So, for the people that are listed in this graduation
Mhm.
class, did they receive the same follow-ups you outlined in your presentation?
Yes.
Or is that for the new class?
No, this year.
Same number of-
Yeah, this year what we did is everyone received a preliminary email to their UD Mercy email address, letting them know that they were going to receive this, asking them to go in, change their email address to, their preferred personal email address. Then the week of graduation, everyone who applied for graduation received an email saying, with a personalized link, saying, here's the outcome survey, please sign in and complete it. That was at the point of graduation. Everyone received a postcard from our office saying, you will be, receiving this information, please, please sign in. So again, trying to get, to that home address. If it's a traditional age person, hoping that their parents will, kind of push them to respond to this. And then in July, the time frame between July, for about a 2-week time frame in July, anyone who had not responded at that point received a phone call from our office. And those phone calls were made by the person who was on staff, one of the career services people, and our office assistant. To try and, encourage them to either sign on, to give us, if they even want to just give us some information over the phone. Okay. We then also kind of did a data search through LinkedIn. Okay. So the data, the knowledge rate could also be information that was located on LinkedIn. All that would tell us is if the person is employed and the company name. It wouldn't tell us anything else. If they've got their LinkedIn profile built out, the only other thing it would tell us is when they began employment with that company. And so then at the 6-month mark, emails went out to everyone, because again, even if you haven't completed it, you're still going to get it and say, okay, do you have anything new to report? All right. In October, we also reached out to all of the deans in the colleges, business administration, liberal arts and education, engineering, architecture, and said, here's a list of who we have, of what we know. Here are the names. Can you fill in the blanks, for students? And we gave them a time frame, to kind of send that information back to us. Everyone then received, now what happened is, unfortunately, like I said, our intent was to do another postcard and another phone, we were unable to do that just because of staffing levels. So yes, everyone received the exact same contact. And this year, we're going to add in making certain that the paper surveys are available at Grad Salute, making certain that on the day of graduation, if people, when they come in to pick up their degrees from the graduate office, if they want to complete it, again, it's one page. If some of you want to take some of these, if you have seniors working in your office, if you, get them to fill it out, get it back to my office, and we'll start. What's most important on that we have out there is that they get us that personal email address, okay?
I was just gonna mention the email address, is that once they leave, I think it's hard to get them by UDM, so most of them have a personal email address out there.
And what they've listed in-
Financial aid recipients, they have a personal email address out there from FAFSA, so that would be probably better.
Right, so that's why we're going to ask that.
But you mentioned also preferred, so I don't think that preferred, if you're using that preferred as your ticker to look for preferred, I wouldn't necessarily even look for preferred. I'd say, okay, we're gonna send it out to your preferred and to your UDM email address for the first couple, and then after that, just go to your personal email address.
It can only go to one first. So the standard for everybody is that the first email goes to their university email.
They're not doing that.
But they also have, you can go, that's why I want to go in and kind of show you like where the survey is. There's a button that says edit. Okay, and in the instructions we say, please edit this with your personal email address. So even if they do nothing else that first go round, okay, but edit and give us that personal email address,
Are you forwarding the personal email address to update manually?
No, I could, if we get that information and we get enough of it, we could definitely download that and make certain that the registrar's office, or your office or somebody has it so that they can go,
We use the registrar data.
Right. So we could definitely share, that's definitely something that could be shareable, with any office. Again, like I said, that was the first year. We know that there's some things that we need to change this year. We know that there are going to be some things that we need to change next year, okay, following year. So, we know that these things this is going to be ongoing.
So my question is, without pointing fingers, was there a positive response from the deans when you gave them the list and said, we've got X, Y, Z, we reported that? Was it ignored? Did you get any kind of, you're smiling?
We did. Some areas were really good because some areas have to collect this data because of their accreditation processes. Okay? So in some areas, for some programs, we received 100%. That was mainly they were mainly master's or, graduate programs. Okay? Because of accreditation, needs. Other areas kind of gave us some suggestions for how to split out the Excel spreadsheet for them. So we're willing to sort the spreadsheet by major, put it on separate worksheets for them, and send it to them.
So someone would get that individual 14 or 12 people who are going to graduate.
Yes. We're willing to make it as easy to share that data as we possibly can. We just want to work together to make certain that we're getting the data that we need so that it can be accurately reported, for federal purposes, for financial aid purposes, for accreditation purposes, for individual programs, who require, information at certain points for their own accreditation, that we actually, are collecting that data. And like I said, again, remembering that this only includes, degrees that were conferred for the 2014-10 and 2014-20 years, because we know that degrees, a person can have a degree conferred at any point, not just at May. There could be someone whose degree was conferred in October. Okay, so running off of that banner year just makes our life easier. Because if I say May and December graduates, somebody's going to say, well, what about the people who got a degree in October? Well, I'm just kind of using that as a broad term, May. Okay, so, we're capturing everybody within, within that period. And then the other thing too is, like I said, making certain, again, on here, that we know that this excluded 133 baccalaureate degrees that were conferred in the 2013-30 year. But going forward, that we're going to, be including everyone. This was a pilot year for us. I believe this is the year that every institution needs to make certain that they have this information up.
For certain programs.
Right. Okay. And then we also have worked with institutional research. If he contacts us, and if certain programs if we have enough numbers, right? Okay.
So a lot of the ones that institutional research is required to report on, because they're financial aid recipients, are certificate levels. Are you?
Yes, those graduate level certificates are included. It's just not included in this report. Okay, so we did share that information, with institutional research in, I believe he contacted us in either October or November. And what this does with this online system, it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to pull that information down and share it. Okay, we used to have to take the paper, we always had an online form. Some people would fill out online, some people would send us back a paper form. We would then have to manually enter that in there, you'd have time to enter 5 or 10, then something else will come up, then you come back 2-3 weeks later, you come back 2-3 months later. Okay, this is going to allow us to collect data a lot faster. And we really just want to embrace this as a whole, and to say, like I said, even at a minimum, if we get, the paper forms completed, to at least get started, and changing that language so that it says your personal email address and not your primary or preferred email address, so that we get that. Okay? Any other questions?
And we'll get it the first time they're going to get a notice.
They're going to get a email, and I'm not certain. We've got to work that out. So Cheryl and I are sitting down next week when she comes back to work out whether or not that's going to be a letter from the president to their home, or if it's going to be a letter and an email. And then if it's something that's also going to be, sent from the colleges, that's a quick mail merge. We've got the names, we can mail merge it in there. Everybody will sit down and we'll stuff envelopes and get it mailed out. It's amazing the amount of mail that we get out of there, okay, and get it out and get it sent so that they know that this is the process. In the robing rooms at graduation, there'll be big signs, that talk about the outcomes survey. And like I said, we just really want to begin to talk about this as a whole, why it's important, for all of our graduates to provide us with this information. Okay? Anything else? Okay. No. Thank you all. I am so excited that you all came. Okay. Thank you. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me, email, give me a call. If you want to sit down and talk a little bit more, please let me know, and we can definitely do that.